Hello, so this is the video walkthrough for the assignment titled Assignment Number 5, Service and Prototype Test Number 1. So, what does this ask for? This is, first of all, something you're going to want to start early. This is going to require you to test with real people. If you watched the video for the week 3 slides, I know it was a little bit long. Maybe watch it at half or double speed rather. That way it's only 15 minutes long. Anyway, the point is that from our ideation assignment, you want to take one of the service-based ideas. You can pivot if you'd like, but going back to the ideation assignment, this was the assignment where we picked 50 service ideas, 50 software ideas, and 50 physical product ideas. This week is service specifically. In the slideshow for this week, I talk about what specifically is a service, okay, and what are examples of services. So if you're stuck on that, reach out ASAP, and I'm happy to help, okay? You want to make sure you get this started early, though. So what ultimately it asks for 7 slides. That first slide is just your idea. What is the business name, project idea, a headshot. Doesn't have to be super fancy, just something that looks nice. Okay. Slide 2, summarize the prototype and test stage of the design thinking process. This is where you want to watch that 30-minute video. I know it's long. You can fast forward through it though, or rather do double time. And then also the slides are available in the resources section in the module on Canvas. Okay. Now, your service prototype. Ideally, this is an image of you conducting the service, okay, for slide 3. It could be like an AI generated image that kind of explains it. It could be like a storyboard. Also, that is explained in the slideshow. Or it could be like an image that's created with AI and then an explanation. Either way, you should have an explanation, like verbally, what are we seeing here? What are we looking at? Okay, so something to visually represent it, and then something to verbally explain it. Okay. Distribution mechanism. This is actually going to be easy because doing this is going to be a double whammy where you're going to knock out assignment number 6 and slide number 4 for here. So before doing slide 4, you want to go back and look at the assignment number 6 for building a website. It's never been easier. If you watch the 30-minute video, it talks about how back in the day, when I say back in the day, I mean just like 2022, 2023, where we would actually do like wireframes for like our physical, or rather for our softwares, for our websites. But now with the new vibe coding tools, the AI tools, that is to say, we're so quickly able to create prototypes that there is no need for the wireframe kind of part. You might do like some mock-ups that if you're really comfortable with like Canva, or if you're really comfortable with like drawing by hand, which is fine if you kind of think visually like that, feel encouraged to do that. In fact, I sometimes will have students, they'll do this where they'll draw by hand like a mock-up of what they want their app to look like, and then they'll give it to Replit or Lovable or any of the other tools that are listed in the assignment number 6. Okay, so all that to say, in slide 4, you're just adding a public link to that site. Okay. Feedback mechanism. This is where you probably will create a Google form. Not totally required. For example, what you might end up doing instead is like just a sign up button. You can integrate it with a Google spreadsheet. But Google form is it's particularly if you've never done that before, or even if you have, but it's a good tool. In fact, I maybe would recommend doing a Google form. In fact, I might add like just a link to Google Forms in here so you have access to that. But anyway, Google Forms would probably be my number 1 recommendation there. And then slide 6 is the big one. So this is where you also have a 10% or 10-point extra credit opportunity. Option A, so you have 1 week, 1 full week to do this. This is due next week when it is listed in Canvas as due. But option A would be a video of you conducting the service with at least 3 users. So say it is an auto detailing service, that is you doing 3 different cars. okay? Or is the cleaning service, it is you. It could be potentially it's you cleaning a shared space, with like 3 roommates or something like that. But it is ultimate, or tutoring. Maybe you're tutoring 3 different people at one time. So it could be like one video with you and 3 potential customers, or it could be 3 separate brief videos of you with 3 separate unique customers. Okay, but doing that and showing 3 people will result 3 potential paying customers. That is going to be for 10 extra credit points. Okay, option B, and this is no extra credit points here. This would just be to conduct a survey with at least 5 potential users. Okay. Finally, last one is reflect and improve. So based on the feedback that you collected, so imagine that it is that you did like where you did it with 3 different people, whatever the service was. You'd want to give them that Google form. You'd want to give them that feedback mechanism like kind of right after, so that they can give you qualitative feedback on how it is that you can optimize your service. And so this is where, again, I would recommend watching that 30-minute video. I really, even though it's long, sit through it if you can. This is where we really go into detail on what prototype and test really means. Okay, and this is where you're going to be collecting some qualitative data that's going to better shape what your solution is going to be in the end, and in optimizing your solution for getting ready for the market. Okay. And reflect and improve. So based on that feedback that you collected from these real people, what were the big takeaways? What needs to be optimized? What can be optimized on the prototype side, on the distribution approach, like what could be optimized on the website, so forth, and your feedback mechanism on what could be optimized. On the website, you can post it on your social media. You can post it. In fact, in future assignments, we're going to be doing just that. We're going to be creating social medias for our service, or for our businesses, and we're going to be doing stuff like that. So you might kind of test with that early. The other options are stuff like this, in-person campaigns. I've had students, for example, work in, like, let's say clothing. Okay, so where do they go? They go to clothing stores, okay, and they start interviewing or engaging with potential customers in clothing stores. Or if it's going to be like hair and makeup, going to a hair salon or something like this, right? That is the kind of the thinking that we want to kind of employ, because just because you're a college student and you want to maybe then solve a problem for other college students does not mean that college students are the people who are willing to pay the most and willing to pay the most frequently. In fact, it's pretty niche kind of things that college students will typically pay for. So therefore, you want to be able to be, you want to, in other words, like, for example, if I'm selling, let's say, a product, and I'm a college student, so I want to sell it to other college students, but women between the ages of 45 and 54 with like interests in Lululemon, Peloton, and Apple Watches are willing to pay me more and more frequently. I'm not allergic to money, so I'm going to go ahead and start selling to them. Okay, and that's kind of like what we want to think about for target audiences, and we'll talk actually more about target audiences in coming weeks. But for now, you want to just, again, go back to that empathy stage. Think about those people who you first interviewed, and now you can even go back to the same people and be like, okay, now here's a service-based solution to that problem. Okay. So ultimately, 7 slides in one deck, public view link submitted via Canvas. Here is an example. Here is screenshots on how it is that you can do the public view link. Just make sure you test it. Make sure that, in other words, maybe launch, if you're on Google Chrome, an incognito window and add it there. Make sure that you're able to view it. That way, if you're able to view it there, then I should be able to view it. In other words, when you do like to set the permissions, make sure, like, this says only you can access. That's not good. It needs to be that anyone with link can view. Anyone with link can access, okay? Okay. And now reach out if you have any questions whatsoever. I'm here and happy to help, okay? All right, best. Bye.